This is for year 11 methods. We're going to look at exercise 5E, question, 5F, sorry, question 4. So f is a linear function. Okay, so highlight this word, linear function. It's really important. Such that f of -5 equals -12 and f of 7 equals 6. So what this means is if I sub in an x value of -5 into the function, I get -12. If I sub in an x value of 7, I get 6. So this is like these are like coordinates. So when x is -5, my function equals -12, or my y value equals -12, okay? When x equals 7, my function equals 6. Now, I want to get a linear equation. So our function would be in the form of y f of x equals mx plus c, right? Because that's the general equation of a linear. Now, you can do this by hand or by calculator. If you do it by hand, you're just using this model and subbing in the 2 points. So, well, not subbing in 2 points, but you're finding the gradient. So I know m is given by 6 minus 12 on 7 minus 5. So that's 18. That's 12, which is 3 over 2. So you can use y equals 3 over 2x plus c, and I want to find my c value. So I can sub in either one or 2 points. I'll just sub in 76. So when y6, 7 plus c, 3 sevens are 21 over 2 plus. So I've got, if I change over 2, that's 12 over 2 equals 21 over 2 plus c. So 12 over 2, if I subtract 21 from both sides, I should get c equals -9 over 2. So therefore your function, and we're not using the y notation anymore, have to use y here for convenience, okay? So f of x equals 3 over 2x minus 9 over 2. Now, you can actually do this on a calculator because, like I said, this exercise is CAS allowed, so this is what you're likely to get on the SAC. So in order to do that on the SAC, you need to define your function. So you know that the function is linear, so you just write mx plus c. So your keyboard, mx plus c, and I'm going to define the function. So I'm going to make that a function. Interactive define. Okay, okay, great. Now I've got 2 points, 2 quants. I can solve these simultaneously because I have two unknowns. Well, I've got m and c being unknown, so I can sub in the coordinates in the function notation. So f of -5 equals -12. I don't need to physically do this by hand. The calculator does for me. Equals 6. And what am I solving for? I'm solving for m and c. Great. Can you see we've got exactly what we're after? M equals 3 over 2, c equals -9 over 2. Now, for part A, we want to find f of 0 because we've already got our function, f of x equals 3 over 2x minus 9 over 2. Now, if you're going to use the calculator all the way through, you've got to make sure you redefine your function because we've already figured out what our m and c are, so you're going to sub that in. So my m is 3 over 2, so you're just going to write 3 on 2 times x plus c. Our c is -9 over 2, 9 over 2. So we've redefined our function. Great. So our function is now 3x, 3 on 2x minus 9 over 2. Great. So if I want to find f of 0, you just type in f of 0, and just in case you're wondering where I get the f button, you just go maths free, f does f there. So f of 0 equals 9 over 2, or -9 over 2. And f of 1, -3. Solve for f of x equals 0. Okay, so solve for f of x equals 0. So f of x equals 0. All I need to do is going interactive and solve. And I get x equals 3. Okay, so x equals 3. So on the test or on the SAC, these will best be worth 1 mark each. Okay, so you don't necessarily need to show working. You need to show roughly what you did on your calculator, just so I can follow what you've done. But that's basically how you use functions on the calculator to answer questions. Now, if you're wondering, how do I do these by hand? If I want f of 0, because I'm using this equation over here, f of 0 would just be when I sub in 0 into the equation, so equals negative 9 over 2. That's like the y-intercept, okay? F of 1 would be when I sub in 3 over 2 multiplied by 1 minus 9 over 2. So that's negative 6 over 2, which equals negative 3. For B, f of x equals 0, so f of x equals 0 was my f of x. My f of x was 3 on 2x minus 9 over 2. Has that rule? Equals 0. All I'm doing is solving it. So 3 over 2, I move the 9 over 2 to the other side. 2x, 9 over 2, oops. Multiply both sides by 2, so 3x equals 9. And I want to solve it. So x equals 9 divided by 3, which equals 3. Okay, so you can do this by hand. It's actually good to do it by hand, just so that you know what's going on, because sometimes when you use a calculator, you don't exactly know what it's actually doing. But this is what it's actually doing when when you're trying to solve or when you're trying to find values of a function on the CAS. So I hope that helps.